You're watching for adult minds only.
The show that makes sense out of a crazy world for adult minds only is on the air. And now, the man who can help you make sense out of this crazy world, your host, Peter Giuliano.
Hello and welcome to the show. Listen, before we get started, there were 2 calls last week that I wasn't able to get on the air, and I promised both gentlemen that I would address the issues. The first one, an older gentleman called me, and he was concerned that the flu shots, or the lack of flu shots, might be a deciding factor in the election. He brought up the fact that George Bush had mentioned it was going to be an event-driven election. He thought the lack of flu shots might be an event that would greatly take away from George Bush. I don't think so. I think that other things have come up during the week that have taken attention away from the flu vaccine. I hope they get more flu vaccine from Canada soon for everyone that hasn't got it. I myself am not going to get a shot this year because I think I'm healthy enough to withstand a year without it. So that was the first thing. The second thing was a real nice young guy called me up. It was the first time he was going to vote. And he point blank told me, he said, Pete, I'm confused. I don't know who to vote for. Who should I vote for? And I said, well, listen, I feel very uncomfortable telling you who to vote for. I have my opinion, and I didn't want to not answer the question, although I didn't feel it was my place to answer the question. And I told him I would have an answer for him this week. And I've been thinking about it since last Thursday night. And just this evening, I found the answer. Later on in the show, you're going to find a nice young guy by the name of Royce Hood. He did a television commercial to find a girl that he met in line at a bank. It's a whole big crazy thing. You've probably seen it on TV. We're going to show the commercial a few times. He's having a party tonight. It's a big event. But anyway, Royce came with a couple of friends, and 2 of his friends happened to be on leave from the Iraq War. So these are 2 young people, and I was very impressed and very happy to meet them. They are fighting as we speak in Iraq, and I asked them, would they come on before the cameras and give us a little interview about what's going on over in Iraq? They said absolutely not. And this is the 5th person, or the 5th time, I should say, that I've run into people on leave. This happens to be a Marine and a girl that works in the Air Force. And it doesn't matter whether they're in the Army or they're Marines or whoever, that will not say anything, good, bad, or indifferent about what's going on in Iraq. So I asked him point blank, what was the reason that he wouldn't comment about the war? And he told me point blank, he said, I don't want to think about it. He said, it's horrible over there. The things that I've seen are horrible, and I can't wait to get back and win the war. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. I had been talking, and he overheard me say that I voted, and I did vote. I voted last Sunday. I voted early. And he asked me who I voted for. And I told him, and I'm going to tell you all, I voted for George Bush. And he told me, and as well as the young lady that was in the Air Force that was with him told me, that 80%, roughly 80%, of the people that he's over there fighting with have said to him, that's the way to go. He's definitely convinced that George Bush is the only way. He wants to win that war. And although he wouldn't come in front of the camera and say it, this is what he told me. So I figure, to the young man who asked me who to vote for, if people your age are over there fighting and they think that George Bush is what it takes to win that war, I guess that's a good enough person to vote for. That's who my recommendation to you would be, to listen to the people that are actually over there. Because I think the number one concern is we have to win the war. Now, that's a tough question, and I'm sure a lot of you at home that are Kerry supporters probably call up and say, oh, how could you say that? But I didn't say it. Actually, who said it were people that were over there fighting. They were in the studio, and that's the answer to you. So, along that same line, I did get one other answer out of this young man. I asked him what he thought about the weapons of mass destruction, and he thinks they're there. He said they found a shell that had nerve gas agent in it. Just recently, there's the big cache of ordnance that's missing, the 300 tons of the high explosive that's can be used to ignite a nuclear bomb. So they're finding all the bits and pieces. And I was really, really angry with Kerry today. I saw a news bit that he had done. He was on TV actually complaining about the fact that he believes that George Bush, by his ineptitude, lost the 300 tons of this high explosives, and is saying that America is less safe because of, his carelessness in losing these explosives. Hey, if it wasn't for George Bush, Saddam Hussein would be over there with those explosives. I mean, when we haven't established, let's just say, that those explosives weren't moved before we got there. We don't know that at this taping anyway. But regardless of that, Saddam Hussein had those explosives. He had the wherewithal to sell them to whoever he wanted to sell them to. As these guys are finding these underground labs and these shells that are emptied with the nerve gas agents remnants in them, there's a lot of things that they're going to find that you're going to see that weapons of mass destruction could have been made at. And just the idiocy, the lunacy of Kerry to suggest that, he's been running on, it's the wrong war, the wrong place, the wrong time. Iraq was of no danger to us. He's been running on an entire anti-Bush invading Iraq campaign to now flip-flop again and say that the world is less safe, or the United States is less safe because of George Bush supposedly let this 300 tons of high explosives whittle through his fingers. He didn't let anything whittle through his fingers. He's over there to win that war. If it was moved after we were there, okay. But he's got hundreds of tons of other high explosives, and he got the head of the regime out of there, and he's over there now fighting with exhausted. These guys are exhausted. I don't care what these kids are telling you. I know when you've been 15 months, this one young man was just 15 months in Baghdad, and he's going back over after a 2-month rest. I know he's tired, and I know he's mentally tired, even though he doesn't want to admit it. He says he's ready to go. He says he's ready to fight. He wants to go over there, and he wants to win. And I just think that for Kerry just to stand up and say consistently, no matter what George Bush does, no matter what happens, he did the wrong thing. I've had it. I'm so glad this election's going to be over on Tuesday. You have no idea. And America's going to go on no matter what happens. I waited 4 hours in line to vote on Sunday. And I have the utmost respect for everybody else that was there with me, whether they were voting for Kerry or not. I have the utmost respect because they took the time to sit there and wait. This is going to be a huge election. I hope Teresa Lepore is ready. The turnout is going to be beyond belief. It's going to be bigger than the party old Royce is going to throw here tonight. And I'll tell you, the absentee ballots, they're still not all out yet. What's up with that? I cannot believe they were supposed to, in my notes here, I just read something off the wire. Teresa Lepore said that she's been mailing out to the tune of 7,000 absentee ballots a day, and they have to be in by Friday. So, if you need one, you can get her at 561-656-6200. If you're looking for absentee ballots, that's the number to call. Another thing I saw in the news today, which I think is very significant, the Israeli Prime Minister, Ariel Sharon, uprooting all Jewish settlements in the historic Gaza Strip. And that's as big as the Berlin Wall coming down, I think. It's huge. To make that step, I think is going to be a big step towards peace with Palestine. I hope, anyway. I hope it's quite a gesture on his part. So I think that when our elections are over and the dust settles, hopefully the best man will win, and we'll get on with a little more normalcy, because it was pretty tense in those voting booths. There's a lot of people on pins and needles getting ready to make sure. A lot of people worried, is their vote going to count? Is it going to be done properly? And I really hope, come the end of Tuesday night, there's no mishaps in Florida. And it went pretty smoothly, by the way, on Sunday, even though it took 4 hours. The big holdup really was they were checking people out pretty good to make sure that they were who they said they were and that they hadn't voted twice. So bring your driver's license and your voter's registration, because they are checking, and they're checking your signatures to try and make sure you're that person. All right, we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Here